really cool, and maybe you guys have this. It's really cool when there's someone to lean on, and it's really cool to be able to have someone lean on us. And as we can continue our sermon series on relationshipology, today what we're looking at is the cardiology. We're looking at the heart. What it looks like when our heart connects to God's heart, and that it enables and equips our heart to connect to other people's hearts. And what that looks like is, we get to lean on each other. We're not created, to live in isolation. We are created to live in community. Now, this happened 9 years ago. It was actually in the spring. I had just moved to Omaha, so I was out running around Lake Zorinsky. It was a Saturday morning, and there was this kid. I was at Faith Westwood at the time, so there was this kid in the church. Just for the sake of the story, I'll call him Lyle, although his real name's Kyle. Trying to protect his identity here. And it's like, he was on a big mountain bike, and I was running, and it's proper to greet somebody even on a trail. Like you say good morning or, sup or whatever you want to say. And so I said, hey, what's going on? It's like, got the head wave out of him. I said, you don't give me the head wave. That's not how it works. So the second lap, I was going to try to correct him a little bit. And so he, now he's trying to get clever at this time. So he, tries to run me over, acting all cool and stuff. And I have to, jump out of the way. So it's the third lap now, and he's gone 2. I've just gone 1. And I said, okay, I'm going to get him this time. You don't, do the head wave. You don't try to run the guy off the trail, He's 20, 21 years old. He should know better than this. So this time I just jumped out in front of him. Now, he actually overcorrected, and he went off the trail into the woods, the part by the lake, So he's down on the ground. So at this point I'm praying I've never prayed before. I'm I don't want popular West Omaha pastor has collision with a parishioner and bicycling running accident, parishioner dies. That would have been kind of awkward. So thankfully, I looked at him, and he just popped up like a piece of burnt toast. And he looked at me, and I looked at him, and we had a problem. I had never seen the guy before in my life. I thought it was someone else. And so he looked at me, and you know what he said? He's like, dude. Before I could say anything, he spits this next phrase out, and he says, that was epic. I'm like, you all right? I mean, you hit your head on something? And oh, no, this is one of the best things that ever happened to me. He said, can I ask you a favor? And I'm like, yeah, I think I owe you a favor here. And he said, is there any way you could come out and hang out with me and my buddies tonight? Because I'm going to tell them this story, and they're not going to believe it unless you're there. I said, just tell me when and where, and I'll be there. So that word epic was an interesting word choice, I thought. Crazy, mean, whatever was that was one that surprised me, but epic, that did. But I thought about this, and I thought about it a lot since then. What would it look like for us to have an epic life? One that's just big, one that matters, one that just exceeds any expectations that we have. Now, you are not created to live a mediocre life. You're not created to live an average life. You're not created to go through the motions from the time you're born to the time you die. That is not why God created you. God created you, and God created me, and God created all of us to live an epic life. You only get one chance at this. We are all the authors and the storytellers of our once to be lived and never to be repeated life. And what I pray for, this is sermons for the 8th graders, the 9th graders, those who are being confirmed. The rest of us can overhear and listen, but, I wrote this, my son's in the class. If I could give some words to him, this is what they would be. If I could give my words to these friends, this is what they would be. That we are created to live an epic life. Now, the E in epic is going to stand for elevate. We are created to elevate. One of the things that we can do to live an epic life is to elevate. Now, don't look left, don't look right, look up. I've been around for 45 years, and I've observed that the Democratic Party is not going to save our lives. The Republican Party is not going to save our lives. I've observed and experienced and witnessed that God has saved us, that God is saving us, and that God will save us. Don't look left, don't look right, look up. This is how we elevate. Now, David was going through a tough time. We find this in Psalm 121, verses 1 and 2. Now, if you're going through a tough time, if you've been through a tough time, if you will be through a tough time, these words are words of comfort for us. Now, listen to what the psalmist writes. He says, I lift up my eyes, I elevate my eyes to the mountains. Where does my help come from? Now, he's saying, like, the hills aren't going to help me. The mountains are going to help me, but here's how I'm going to be helped. He said, my help comes from the Lord. Now, he clarifies who the Lord is. He says, the maker of heaven and earth. David is saying, like, if God can make the heavens, if God can make the earth, God can help me. My help is going to come from him and from him alone. Now, I don't think that our life can be epic without God being the center of our life. Now, here's how this works. I'm not going to tell you anything that's going to surprise you. I'm not going to tell you anything that Chad didn't teach you. One of the ways that we connect, one of the ways that we elevate is to pray. Now, like, I don't really believe that our life can be epic unless we are connected to the creator of the heavens and the earth. Now, this doesn't have to be rocket science. Like, it can be very simple. Lord, I thank you for my family. I thank you, for my job. I thank you for my friends. God, I'm going through this challenge. Help me overcome. Lord, I know someone that's having a tough time. Can you comfort them and give them peace? You can do this. Like, this is how this works. It's just real, authentic conversation with God. The next is going to be read the Bible. Again, I don't think the epic comes unless we're connecting, unless we're elevating to the creator of the world. Now, when we read the Bible, we're going to find just like little nuggets like this. Like, if you read the Bible, don't start like with Leviticus or Deuteronomy. Start like with Matthew or Mark or Luke or John or something like that. You're going to like hear these words like, be strong and courageous. Don't fear because I'm with you. You're going to hear words like, it's more blessed to give than it is to receive. That's epic. You're going to hear words like, treat other people like you want to be treated. You're going to hear words like, what does it profit to gain the entire world but forfeit your soul? Is there anything that's worth more than your soul? You see, when you read that type of stuff over and over and over again, we start to develop a Christian worldview. We elevate to the creator of the heavens and the earth. We serve. This is another way that we can do this. I believe that the best way that our life can be epic is probably to serve. I believe that the best way that we can elevate is to love those that God loves so much. Jesus tells a story near the end of his life. He says, when there was a hungry person, you fed them. When there was someone who was thirsty, you gave them something to drink. When they were naked, you clothed them. When they were a stranger, you welcomed them. When they were sick, you took care of them. When you were in prison, you went to visit them. And then Jesus says, what you've done for the least of these, you've done for me. Now, this is epic. Like, I have a friend, he works at a bank downtown, and on Tuesday night, what he does is he goes to the grocery store. He buys, like, just loaves of bread. He buys turkey, he buys ham, he buys cheese, he buys mayonnaise, he buys peanut butter, he buys jelly, and he makes, like, dozens of sandwiches. So he does his job from, like, 7 to 11:30. And then what he does at 11:30 on Wednesdays, he takes, like, these hundreds of sandwiches. He takes these bottles of water in a cooler, and he wheels them around downtown Omaha, and he gives these to homeless men. I've done it with him before. It's an amazing thing. To give somebody a sandwich, to give them a cold bottle of water, to put your arm around them and pray for them. That's epic. And you can do this. Like, there's nothing that he can do that you can't do. It's probably not going to be this specific ministry, but to serve that hurting person, what we're doing is we're serving God, and it's epic. Now, I know a couple things about you, because I know a couple things about me. One, we have an unknown future. But number two, we have a very known God. Yes, I have a friend. I don't know if he's here today. I think he might be, but he had his 81st birthday this last week. Now, you know what? He's got an unknown future, but he's also got a known God. You have an 8-year-old son here that's sitting in the front row. He has an unknown future, but he has a known God. Now, I want you to listen to this. As you elevate, never be afraid to trust an unknown future to a known God. Never. Now, as we go through the epic, the E is elevate, the P is going to be pause. Now, kids, I think this one's essential. Yeah, I'm a soccer coach for 18 eighth graders. Yeah, I know your schedules. I have an eighth grade son. And even for those of us who are parents, high schoolers, some of you had prom last night and you're here, and that's amazing. Give them a round of applause real quick. Um, then, we're busy, and I think if we're not busy, we're distracted, and I think that some of us are both busy and distracted. Now, I'm going to give you a hint. Epic does not happen in our hurry. Epic does not happen in our distraction. Epic happens in our pause. I really believe that. The epic life is most likely to happen when we're balanced and focused and rested. If you really want to be epic, if you really want to have this epic life, we have to have times in our life, each day and each week and each year, where we slow down, where we unplug, and where we pause. Now, this is nothing new. This has been around for a long time. I think it's more accentuated now than it's ever been, but listen to Exodus chapter 34, verse 21. 6 days you shall labor, but on the seventh day you shall rest. Now, usually we end there, but there's actually another part that goes with this. Even during the plowing season and the harvest, you must rest. So I think that some of us say, okay, rest is a good idea, Craig. I agree with you, but this is a really busy season, and when this busy season is done, I'm going to rest. And that's not what God says. God says during the busy times, like when you plow and when you harvest, those are the busy times. During those times, rest, disconnect, unplug. Now, epic is not going to happen when we're constantly fatigued. Epic is going to happen when we're balanced, focused, and rested. Now, do any of you you don't have to raise your hand or anything, but do any of you feel like tired or languished or weary or anything like that? I'm going to give you a word or some words from the creator of the heavens and the earth, and here's what he says. In Jeremiah chapter 31, verse 25, "For I will satisfy the weary soul, and every languishing soul I will replenish." I think for some of us, we look at that word replenish, and we wish that was us. We just wish we woke up in the morning and we weren't tired. We wish that our responsibilities did not exceed our resources. Now, I'm going to tell you something that I don't think the world is ever going to tell you, but I believe it. I believe it because God says it. Idleness is not going to be lazy or immoral. I believe that idleness is actually going to be the one true good. I believe that. I believe that in our rest we find epic. Now, let's go back to Thursday. I had a really busy week, and Thursday I had 15 things on my to-do list, and I got 12 of them checked off. But you know what? That wasn't epic to me. It was kind of satisfying, but it wasn't epic. I took a picture on Instagram, this is months ago, and it was this really cool picture of a sunset and the frost, and it was just every once in a while you get lucky and you hit the perfect shot, and this ended up on the front page of Instagram. So I got 2,000 people that liked this picture, and you know what? That wasn't epic. It wasn't. What was epic was, last night was pretty epic. I did a wedding yesterday, and we have family in town, so my normal plus one wasn't available, so I took my other plus one, Benjamin, and we went out on this date to the Ralston Center, and it was so much fun, and we drank Sprite with this little cherry stuff poured on top, and then we went to Office Depot to pick up something, these signs that I was supposed to pick up for the church, but I was actually supposed to go to Office Max, and we went to the wrong place, and then a friend called, and he needed an international adapter, for power. He was going to leave the country this morning, and he asked if I had one. I said, don't have one, but I'm at Office Max, so I can get you one and bring it over. And then we went to Office Depot and picked up the signs, and we went to his house and dropped off this adapter that I bought. Then we'd worked so hard, we went to Sonic to get those shakes at half price after 8 o'clock, and that was epic. But it doesn't happen in our busyness. It doesn't happen in our fatigue. It happens in our idleness. To do nothing with somebody else, that's epic. A couple weeks ago I was out on the church grounds, and there was 57 people on my prayer list that day, and I had this idea that I was going to pray for everybody for about a minute or so. And I just walked around the church grounds, and I prayed for 57 people. It took me about an hour. To me, that was epic. That was life. This is how this stuff works. Now I want to go to the next one. This is going to be imagine. This is imagine. So we've elevated, we've paused. Now we're going to imagine. Now, students especially, but all of us. Your life is never going to exceed the size of your dreams. It just isn't. Dream big. Don't dream small. Dream big. Imagine great things for you, and then those great things can happen. You'll never exceed this. Your life will never exceed the size of your dreams. I want to go to Joel chapter 2, verse 28. Love this text. Then after doing those things, I will pour out my spirit on all people. Your sons and daughters will prophesy. Your old men will dream dreams, and your young men will see visions. So, who does God pour his spirit out upon here? Yeah, it's not a trick question. It's like the second to last word on the second line there. So it's all, not just those who have gone to graduate school and studied theology for a long time, not just those who come to church every Sunday, not just those who give a lot, not just those who have completed confirmation. God gives his visions to all people, young and old. And I'm going to give you a relationshipology truth here. And if you guys have been around here for more than a few months, you've heard me talk about this before. Don't waste your time or energy trying to change your past. Instead, seek to shape your future. This is where imagination comes in. This is where dreams come in. This is where hopes come in. Don't let your past try to steal your future. Your life is not going to become epic on accident. You got to dream big. You got to imagine. You got to plan. You got to pray. You have to prepare. Yes, I got this friend. Her name's Paige. I've known Paige probably for about 12 or 13 years now. She's quite a bit younger than me. She's in her early 30s. And I did Paige's wedding. Her dad's a Methodist pastor, but the dad gave her away. I did the wedding. Paige came and visited us about 5 or 6 years ago. Her little daughter, Lizzie, and David, they were buddies that day. David was like 3 or 4 at the time. And she'd been a fundraiser. She'd been like an event planner. She'd planned big weddings, and she was great at what she did. And she told me that morning when we ran that she had an imagination, that she had a dream. And what this dream was is that she was going to throw birthday parties for homeless kids because she believed that joy can change the world, and she believed that everybody was going to deserve a birthday party. Now I thought, this is a pretty big thing. This isn't going to happen easily, and I was trying to be supportive of her, but part of me was thinking, like, this is too much for this, at the time, 28, 29-year-old woman. Now, you know what I love in life? I love it when people prove me wrong, and she proved me wrong. Like, this is an amazing story. You can just go to the website, thebirthdaypartyproject.com. It just celebrated its third anniversary. They have given over 850 birthday parties for almost 10,000 homeless kids in 7 cities across the country. This is imagination. This is epic. This is dreams coming true. And if we don't dream, our dreams will never come true. There is nothing that Paige has that any of you don't have. God gives us dreams. God gives us visions. He gives this to all of us. And when we dream big, epic is going to happen. Now, the last one we're going to look at is connect. So we have elevate, we have pause, we have imagine, and we have connect. Now, I'm going to go back to the verse that we all read just a little bit ago. It's from John chapter 15, verse 5. This is Jesus speaking. These are his words. He's addressing the people. He said, "Yes, I am the vine, you are the branches. Those who remain in me and I in them will produce much fruit. For apart from me, you can do what? You can do nothing." Now, there's another type of connection that Jesus talks about later in the same speech. Jesus talks about, let's be connected to God. Now, have you ever seen like an apple that falls from the tree? What happens? It dies. If you've been out to like the weed garden or whatever, the tomato branch breaks and those tomatoes die. But when we're connected, what happens? Like this fruit grows and it's abundant and it produces seeds, it produces new fruit, and that's what's called epic. Now, Jesus continues as far as connection goes. He says, "This is my command, that you love one another, that you love each other." So when Jesus talks about connection, he's talking about let's be connected to God. Let's be connected to each other. Now, here's a relationshipology truth. Your life is not going to be epic on its own. To be epic, the story has to be shared. To be epic, the sorrows have to be shared. To be epic, the celebrations have to be shared. And Yeah, I did a wedding yesterday. I got one in like 3 hours and 29 minutes or 19 minutes or whatever it is. But they're both going to end the same way. They're both going to end the same way, and it goes like this. Like, I'll have the bride and the groom, and I'll say something like, the two of you can become more together. And don't think about a bride and a groom here necessarily. It could be that way. Think about any friendship. Think about any relationship that you have. This is a relationshipology truth that two of us in a relationship can become more together than both of us could have become separately as individuals. That's a healthy relationship where we become more together than we could have become separately. Now, I continue, though. I don't leave it at that. I say, there's another party in this relationship, and it's God. God has this great big heart, and this place in your heart can never be completely full until it is filled with the love of God, because there is a place in our heart that is reserved specifically and only for the love of God. So here's what happens. When we can connect to the source, when we can connect to the creator of the heavens and the earth, and when we can share that connection with others, what happens is we find ourselves in this epic relationship. Now, life is going to be epic in community with God, and life is going to be epic in community with others. So students and anyone else, want you to know that you're put on this planet to live an epic life. Like this once to be lived and never to be repeated life. God does not make junk. He just doesn't. Instead, he makes people, various people of all different sizes and shapes, people with different gifts and talents. And I want you to know that, like, when we elevate and put God first, when we pause and give God time to work in our life, when we connect, when we imagine, what's going to happen is that God is going to make our lives epic.